strongly during that Instagram video. They kept texting me about it, so I won't say who. She's not even looking at me right now. But,
It was Carrie, wasn't it?
yeah, it was Carrie, yeah. No. But anyways, yeah, just a couple things coming up here. You can bring my message up that we want you to be aware of. First of all, if those of you that send your kids to camp at Spencer Lake, we got the promotional material. There's a kids camp and teens camp. And I think we're going to, as a church, go to the first week of kids camp. So that'd be August 5th through the 9th. I believe that's the one. So did we lose the lights?
No.
Oh, okay.
Everything's washed out with the doors.
Oh, okay. All right. Sounds good. And then, and then we also have this coming up. Our Royal Rangers, we're wrapping up our Wednesday night program, and for the season, for the summer, and we have our rocket launch coming up on Wednesday, April 24th at 6:30. And there's about 18 rockets that are going up, and these things go from 500 feet to 1,100 feet. We'll be at the Wapaka Learning Center parking lot. So if you don't even have kids, or you have grandkids or whatever, bring them out. It's a lot of fun. And I have a few extra rockets of my own, and let a kid, if they don't have one, I'll let them shoot one off. So it's a really good time on April 24th. And then our Easter message that I'm entitling The Joke, and it's an interesting title for an Easter message, isn't it? But it's the Easter story is told by Matthew, Mary, Brandy Carlisle, Lady Gaga. So that's my Easter message this Sunday, next Sunday. And it's on the surface, it's like, okay, but follow me on this. I think you'll enjoy it. It's going to be a multimedia interactive sort of thing. But invite somebody to our Easter service with you. We used to send out postcards, and it showed a grandma freaking out, and it said, "Shock your mama, go to church this Easter." And sent it to all the neighborhood. And but we're also going to have a photo booth set up, and Ben's offered to bring all of his camera gear after I asked him, and to bring all of his camera gear and stuff. And we know that people like to dress up either if you're by yourself or with a family, and so we'd like to provide you with a free family photo as well. That'll be a gift to you on Easter. So that's what we have coming up here at Radiant. And of course, the men's ministry fishing trip, that deadline's coming up to get your $50 deposit in. By May 1st, we're going to go out of McKinley Marina, 6 hours on a 37-foot charter fishing boat, and go for the big salmon and trout and all that stuff. So that's what we have cooking. So anyways, this morning we're going to do a little bit of a different type of service. And those of you that have never been to a Radiant Fellowship business meeting, welcome. We like to do things a little different at this church, thus Lady Gaga at her Easter service. But we like to do things a little different, and here's the deal. We used to do them in a separate meeting and everything, and you know, it was good. But over the last few years, I'm just thinking, you know, we have our partners, okay? So we've, in our bylaws, our Constitution and bylaws, with the blessing of the Assembly of God Mothership, we ended up dropping the word member and adopted the word partner, because quite honestly, with the founding leadership that we had at this church, all of us said we have no desire to become members at a church again because of our pasts and our upbringing. Some of them had really good remembrances, others not so much. So we said, you know what, we're partners. We're partners in ministry, and that just kind of eliminates the elitist membership word and says we're partners, we're doing this together. And so we did that 14, 15 years ago, and it hasn't changed since. And so I thought, you know, each April we take time to do our annual business meeting, and so just wanted you to feel like you're a part of it. Even if you're not a member of Radiant, it's exciting to hear what's going on, and you can see what we're doing and where things are going and all of that. And I really want to thank my board, Josh Skog and Carrie Kelly. We don't meet nearly enough since the new year because of vacations, both of you, not me, and but also just the weather and stuff. But you know, we met back in January, and it's our goal to meet every month. But they are the voice of reason to this pastor, and so I really do appreciate them and all that they do for this church. Carrie came to this church back in 2005, back 2008 maybe, 2009. Okay, so 2009. And just a little disgruntled with church life and everything. And she found a home here at Radiant. And Josh and I, we go back to our teen years through his relatives. And so we've really known each other for a long time. And I just appreciate all that they do. So in this message, I'm going to read. I wrote my message out. There's all different types of ways a pastor can put a message together. And I've chosen to do that for this because there's a lot of thanks and dreaming and things like that I want you to be aware of. And then we'll go into the second phase of the business meeting. But I wrote, here we are another year later, and I'm just as excited about this church as I was then. In fact, I'm even more excited than last year as I look forward with great anticipation to what God is doing through this church. We always appreciate the church, and the backstory of this church in a nutshell is I was asked to be a part of this church in end of 2003, early 2004, when our time in Milwaukee came to an end. We wanted to stay, I'll be honest with you, but the leadership that be made it difficult to do so when the lead pastor ended up going through his stuff. And so the pastor that started this church, I'm not the founding pastor. I always say I'm the founding pastor since the reboot, okay? And that was when, in 2004 is when we came on. I was the youth pastor here. August 2005 is when I was appointed senior pastor of the church after some moral dealings on the upper leadership of the church. And so we restarted this church with 8 people and a mortgage and and some supplemental income from the district office. And the pastor, the leader of the time of the district office, Arden Adamson, he goes, "Do you want to make a go of this?" And I used a few choice words to the district leadership because I was so hurt, so burnt about what I thought of churchianity. And but after I thought about it and settled down, I said, yes, we'd love to make a go of it. We just bought a home. We love Wapaka. And so that's where we are today. 2005 was when I was installed as the pastor here. And each year we just love it, and we're so thankful for everybody. But over the past year, we have seen some great things that happen as a result of giving hearts and hands. Once again, we have done a lot of outreach and serving. We saw the launch of Radiant Radio. It was a time of trial and error in regards to this great way to reach more people. In 2019, we will see a few changes regarding it, but it will always be available through our church website directly on our homepage. Our church has always been and will be a church that reaches people far beyond its 4 walls. I'm happy to say that 9 people were baptized this past summer, and we also saw the reemergence of the Candy Carnival. Now, I wasn't a part of that because of all the stuff going on in my own personal life with my mom, but the Vials and a few others ran with it at a storefront in Scandinavia, and there was a great turnout. A kid won a bike, and it was just a way to serve during trick-or-treat hours. A ministry that we had a few years back was brought back. The Rock has once again seen favor from God. We were given a van and we purchased a trailer at a very discounted rate, thanks to friends through the Strasseys, so that each month we can head downtown to help people that may have been forgotten by many. This ministry has not brought any numerical growth to our church, but that is not what it is all about. We are about serving people with no agenda. Through many volunteers making meals, desserts, and donations of clothing, etc., many have been blessed by our ongoing efforts. As a result of this ministry, our friend Bill Snurley has offered to drive the van each Sunday morning down to the hotel to see if anyone would like a ride to church. There have been no takers yet, but some interest. In time, we will see our friends attending. We had someone very, very open to us about his struggles with life and that he would love to get to church. And I don't doubt we'll see him on the van in weeks to come. But I do want to pause there and say Bill is with us because got a lot of people praying for you, Bill. And yeah, that's great. And it was more than what I said on Facebook. It was a quintuple bypass surgery. And went in for a routine checkup, and you got a ride, not a free ride, but a ride down to St. Luke's on the ambulance in Milwaukee. So it's so good to have you back. You just got out Friday. And wow, you're here. So it's probably the coffee, it's not the pastor. But each Wednesday, this place has many kids running around. We have roughly 18 boys upstairs and 4 girls downstairs. 4, right? I think it's 4. Yeah, feels like more, but yeah, 4 girls downstairs. It can be crazy, fun, insane, awesome, and all in one. I know it can be very taxing on the teachers, but the kids really do enjoy it. I'm thankful for Renee Catanaugh and Anna for teaching our girls. Thanks to Kevin Gardner, Jeremy Smith, and Ben Gabbard for helping me with our Royal Rangers program. We are just a couple weeks away from being done until September. Each month our women's ministry and men's ministry meet, and it really is a good time. Thanks to my wife and Val for heading up the women's ministry. Bottom line is that a church this size depends heavily on volunteers to make things happen. I would like to thank Rick Hope for being faithful to the ministry of streaming our services online. Our sound guys Brian Jacquette and Josh Skog and Isaiah Skog help make sure everything is going well in the sound booth. And a big thank you to our worship director, Tamara Jacquette. Where's Tamara? Awesome. Having a cigarette. Stressed out. I got to get out of here. But to Tamara Jacquette, she has faithfully served since 2013 when things unraveled back then with our then worship leader. I can honestly say Tamara is a joy to work with, and we know each other well. She has been the most drama-free and most organized worship leader this church has had. She leads a great team with Ben Gabbard, Jeremy Smith, Regina Wonglin, Jackie Welsh, and Deb Jones. So thank you. And also I'd like to say thank you to Teresa Skog for heading up the cafe. She has a good team with Natalie and her daughter Allie as well. We just bragged on you, Tamara, and now you're back in.
Well, I have to take a selfie with the bowl.
Oh, there we go. Anyways, I have to mention thanks to those that help make our kids ministry happen each Sunday. My wife has proven to be a solid fixture in wanting to see kids grow in Christ. She is a mom, a full-time NICU nurse, the manager of the birthplace and of the NICU at St. Elizabeth's, and still has a passion to do this. Plus, she's married to me. So it is refreshing to have a children's ministry director in place that genuinely cares about kids and has vision for what they want to see. Thanks to our nursery workers, Carrie Kelly, Val Smith, Sauce Krieger. I would like to also say thanks to Allie Skog and Claire Jacquette for helping with our preschoolers. You know, our church has made some big waves in the community and state this past year as we reached far beyond our 4 walls and took hurricane relief supplies to South Carolina and Florida. It was amazing to see the support we received from Fox 11, WLUK, WIXX, which I was told don't call it Wix, it's WIXX. Thanks, Ben, for clarifying that with me. I think you told me that. You're like, no, it's WIXX. So, our local newspaper and more. The community really rallied around us with donations. Peterson Auto helped with the van and to make those trips happen. I'm so thankful Dave and Sue Vile were able to go with my family on both trips. You can see Dave sleeping in the first photo up there that we they saw the good, the bad, and the ugly in my parenting skills being cooped up in a van. We will see what other ways God wants to use us this year. I want to think out of the box this year, perhaps way out of the box. In fact, I don't even like the reference out of the box because that means there's a reference point. I want to do more things this year. Some things that come to mind are just things in the community to make this community better. First, it's going to start with a spring cleanup because our backyard's atrocious from all the pine trees that fell down this year. But, you know, perhaps things that we haven't done before, like a bonfire pit of friendship. So we invite the neighbors, bring your supplies. We're just going to have a big bonfire in the backyard. City cleanups, all sorts of different ways. We're not going to be so zealous as to say every month, but quarterly. It would be really good to see some kind of servant evangelism project happen in our community. I'm not going to lie, this past year has been very difficult and rewarding. I find there is always this paradox that when something good happens, something bad happens as well, and vice versa. I remember the year I was diagnosed with MS was also the year a couple months after my friend Katie suffered a horrible health incident. The same happened over this past year. My mom passed away, yet I found out a couple months later I no longer have MS. It is times like this that really try a person's will to trudge through this life, but regardless, we rise and rise again victorious in God. Nothing could have prepared me for the roller coaster of emotions I would go down when I found out my mom passed away. Bar none, it was the toughest thing I have ever had to walk through. It meant the world to me to receive support I did from this church family. Also, imagine my surprise when I saw Sue Wentland, Carrie Kelly, Josh Skog, and the Vials when I was standing at my mom's casket the day at the funeral, only to see them walk through the door at the church in Milwaukee. I'm still a mess and working through so much, but I'm very thankful for all of your support, and the fact my dad will be moving to Waupaca shortly helps. Dad's here today. And so I'm sincerely thankful for those of you that have messaged, called, checked in, etc. to see how I'm doing. If you don't know me by now, I'm a very transparent person. That can be a very good thing, but at the same time, it scares many as well. So nonetheless, I truly find comfort in the Apostle Paul's teachings that we ought to boast of our weaknesses, because quite honestly, being fake is so tiring, and that is a trait I refuse to be. As I look forward to 2019 and beyond, I look at it with much tenacity. I have talked about all of what we have accomplished. It was with those victories I look to the new year with, but certainly don't hang my hat on them because they are in the past. For years and years, Radiant Fellowship was viewed in our community as that church. If you've been with us for a while, you know what I'm talking about. In many areas, it still is. Recently, I visited a church, and though I was greeted by a couple of old-timers, many avoided as well. It is as if the church is viewed by so many as the little church that could. Many of you have been with me in public to witness these kinds of snubs firsthand. To be honest, it makes me a bit irritated because this church has so much potential and it offers a lot. I'm reminded of the words in Revelation, chapter 2, 2-7. I know your deeds, your hard work, and your perseverance. I know that you cannot tolerate wicked people, that you have tested those who claim to be apostles but are not, and have found them false. You have persevered and have endured hardships for my name and have not grown weary. Yet I hold this against you. You have forsaken your first love, and you had it first. Consider how far you've come. Repent and do the things you did at first. If you do not repent, I will come into you and remove your lampstand from its place. But you have this in your favor. You hate the practices of the Nicolaitans, which I also hate. Whoever has ears, let them hear what the Spirit says to the churches. And so it's a call to just say we have to remember where we came from. It's so easy, even for a small church or a big church, to become complacent, and that's not where I want to be. It's never something I aspire to be, as complacent, and that's why we do things. So the fact is we are a church that is very Bible based. Over the years, we have been pegged as gay affirming, this and that. It simply boggles my mind how people can be without experiencing or coming to a church firsthand. We remain the church in town where people attend church elsewhere, but when the going gets tough and they are in need of counsel, something material, or simply someone to talk to, they call me or this church. It would boggle minds who I've met with over the years, sometimes monthly, because they just don't want to speak to their own pastor. And so I consider it a joy, but at the same time, it's one of these things, that's how we're viewed. I was recently with a pastor that was no longer on staff anywhere. He was on staff at a church in town that has a few hundred congregants. He told me this: I am always so amazed at how you and Radiant Fellowship function. In fact, I would say I'm jealous because you found who you are and you go with it, not swayed by the latest fads, etc. On that note, like I said before, I'm going to face this year with much tenacity. The Pastor Bob of a few years ago had a bit of bite in him, and I see myself returning to that, be it with topics I address, the things I post online, etc. It's who I am, and this church can be a real lighthouse in a city where I believe really needs something fresh. I know I've said it in the past, but it certainly is worth repeating. This past year, we have seen giving increase, which has been fantastic. This has allowed us to make improvements and do more ministry. I would like to see it continue to grow, however, because nothing would make me happier than to see us get a youth pastor and kids pastor, or the 2-in-1, because we cannot do this. We cannot do this though with the wrong attitude. Recently, we had a family leave Radiant Fellowship because we don't offer life groups. I have to be honest. I would love to see life groups happen, but I simply cannot add another thing to my docket at this phase of life for me being a dad of 3 kids under the age of 12. People will continue to come and go looking for life groups unless we begin to have volunteers step up and offer their homes. Many of you came from a church where life groups were run well. I do not see why we cannot do the same as well. I'm going to just pause for a minute and pass this around. If you're a partner, just go ahead and sign on the roster, and just the fine print, I guess you could say. But I don't see why we couldn't do that as well and achieve some sort of small groups. For us to achieve the goal of bringing on a youth director or kids pastor, we would need to see physical growth. When everyone that calls Radiant Fellowship their home church is in attendance, it is quite the full place. But that is few and far between. I do send out emails to people that when they haven't been seen for a few weeks to let them know they are missed, because they genuinely are. I'm surprised though by the ones that don't make church a lifestyle decision, rather they make it a weekly decision. When attendance is down, in many cases, giving goes with it. This makes it difficult if we are going to pursue the goal of more staff. Our kids deserve this goal. With attendance comes giving so that we can do more. And I will say, with the kids that we have, they're growing up fast. We're going to have a youth group here in a matter of a year, maybe 2 years, of not a bad size. And so our kids deserve this goal. With the attendance comes giving so that we can do more. I would love to see 100% participation in giving, but that doesn't happen in any church, no matter how big or small. It would be nice to see us move past where we are at currently. When a person attends a church, any church, they are enjoying the resources of what it has. That would entail the building and all that goes along with it. If kids are involved, they require supplies as well, like Sunday school supplies, etc. As a church, we do these things because we value them, but it would be helpful to receive additional support. When a person attends for a period of time only to tell me or others that they're not sure of a decision, it puts the leadership in an unnecessary pressure to perform. It makes me as a pastor feel like The Bachelor, Pastor Edition. Just gonna move on to the next one. That won't happen here. We love to have everyone here and actively involved, but if you're waiting for me to do backflips just so we can be graced by your presence, it's not gonna happen. One thing I've learned early on being a pastor is that He is going to build His church. God is going to build His church. He told Peter, the caffeinated disciple from the New Testament, He said, you know what, Peter? You have all these things going against you. You denied me 3 times. You chopped the guy's ear off. You're doing all this stuff. On you, I'm going to build my church. That gives me a lot of hope. That gives you a lot of hope, okay? And the fact is that we're not a perfect church. And if anybody is ever looking for the perfect church, don't go, because you're going to ruin it. Okay, those are words from a famous author. And so He is going to also fund the church by moving on people's hearts to give out of the abundance of their heart. My goal this year, beyond staff, is to see us up our game with our online presence by purchasing a Mevo camera. If you're not a techie, that's okay. Trust me, it's a good camera. This is a $500 expense, which is really a drop in the bucket compared to other churches attempting to stream by investing $10,000 into their equipment. Much of our support and viewers are from those online, and so we would like to upgrade that. Our 3 classrooms downstairs need a facelift, much like upstairs has received the facelift. I have to say, isn't it refreshing that we can do a facelift program, a project to our church, without me having to do a series of messages on giving, only to broadside you with a giving campaign? It's refreshing to do this kind of stuff. The biggest expense for our latest remodel was the barn door tracks that you see holding the panels up. Outside of our mortgage, we have always operated in the black, and it's my desire to stay that way. This year, we will have our parking lot resurfaced, seal coated, painted. We'll hang our gutters up on the south side of the building and address the slab of cement by the front stairs that's slowly lowering. You will see more opportunities for ministry as well within our community. Despite the typhoon-like weather we had during our back-to-school rally last year, Julie remembers that, and Charlie was grilling in that and stuff. We'll do it again. We will also do a lot of more outreach to our community. Recently, I saw an image that said, taking the gospel to every neighborhood. It was a church that had this up, taking the gospel to every neighborhood. I had a hard time with that because it seems very pompous to say something like that as if the other churches are really blowing it. I think many churches are doing a great job, and so we are going to focus on the area that God placed us, our community. It really will take all of us to do this, however, because I with other people of faithful volunteers cannot do it all. I completely enjoy what I do, but apart from sermon prep and meeting with people, I also do the graphics, YouTube videos, e-newsletters, podcasts, cleaning Royal Rangers, and the rock ministry. I don't mention all of that to draw attention to myself, but rather an awareness that I would love to do more, but I simply cannot, and so we need volunteers. It really does take all of us to participate and make a difference. Lastly, I want to end with this. One area I could see our church really needing to ramp up is in the area of prayer. I've had people in the past say they would love to head up a prayer ministry and then it goes nowhere. It is my desire to see regular prayer meetings, so please keep an eye out for those as we move through the year. I'm convinced that prayer works and it is what we need to do. A.W. Tozer said this: the church can have light only as it is full of the Spirit, and it can be full only as the members that compose it are filled individually. Isn't that good? Let me read that again. The church can have light only as it is full of the Spirit, and it can be full only as the members that compose it are filled individually. And so when you're thriving, the church is thriving. When we're hurting, the church is hurting. When we're together and we're behind this thing, that's what makes a difference. And so I look to 2019 with great anticipation, and hope you do as well. We'll have more partnership classes coming up so that more of you can become partners. And you know, that's an important role in a church, to become a partner, because that's where you can head up ministries and have input on things and stuff like that. And you know, we could go and say, well, does the Bible say you have to become a partner to do ministry? No, but our society has a pretty strong justification saying, hey, we've checked you out, they're legitimate to work with kids, or legitimate to work with adults and stuff. And just like public school, we run our background checks and all that stuff. And so, you know, being a partner has its privileges. And so we would love for you to be a part of that. You know,